What is up, everybody? As you can tell by the channel name, we are here to rank let's get rid of these, all of Ant-Man's hero cards. So there's technically like 18 if you count each side of the hero card. But we're gonna go through it one by one, and we're gonna see. So starting with his tiny form. Tiny form is actually going to be a 2. Let's jump into here. So this is, can I zoom in a little bit? Yeah, like that. Alright, so it's 2-1-2, puny pest response. After you change this form, remove one threat from a scheme. So basically, I feel like this form is basically to just for thwarting when you really need to thwart, but it also gives you a bigger hand size than it does for giant. So I feel like when I was playing, I always wanted to be more so in the giant form than the tiny form, except when I actually had all of my army of ants out. But mainly I only went to ant form when I needed to take care of threat or if I had a resize available. Moving on to giant form, which they don't have a card for, so we will pop up. Let's go back here first. Giant form I marked as a, where is it? As a 3. And I have a picture up right there. Yep, perfect. It's a 1/3/3 giant nuisance response. After you change to this form, deal 1 damage to an enemy. Hand size 4, which is kind of not that great, but it is what it is. He's basically an attack and a defending side of the hero. But what's nice is the response. After you change his form, deal 1 damage to an enemy. You can ping off a tough on an enemy if you'd like, which is really nice to have especially facing Zola, which I did for these 4 games. Which, if you didn't check out the 4 games in each aspect, please go check out that Digging Deep episode. Moving on to Alter Ego. Alter Ego is going to be a 3 as well. 3 recovery, that's pretty average. Civilian time to unwind response. After you change this form, heal 1 damage from Scotling. That's, I don't think I've seen an Alter Ego where it heals you in the text box. I think this is the first time I've seen it. Correct me if I'm wrong. But which is super nice. That's why he's kind of a 3 and not like a 2. Like healing 1 damage just off the bat by flipping is super nice. And you recover, so it's almost basically 4 whenever you go down. But yeah, he's a 3. He's mid still, I think, even with that. Moving on, next is Wasp. Wasp I actually put as a 4. So 3 cost ally, 2/2/3. Okay, that's pretty average for 3. You know, that's a good stat line for a 3 cost card. Aerial Avenger hero response. After Wasp enters play, deal 2 damage to an enemy if you are in giant hero form, or remove 2 threat from a scheme if you are in tiny hero form. Wild resource. Now, this is why she's a 4, is basically because of her hero response. Otherwise, she would be a 3 for her stat line. So when you want to play her, you really want to think about what form you want to be in. So if you need help taking down threat, or if you want to deal damage, like a free 2 for each one, you have to think about what form you want to be in for that. Moving on to Giant Stomp. Giant Stomp is one of my favorite cards in this thing, so it's a 4. 3 cost event. Attack Giant. Play only if you are in Giant Hero form. Hero action attack. Deal 1 damage to each minion. Deal 8 damage to an enemy. Energy resource. Very nice to ping off a lot of toughs if there are a lot, especially playing Zola. There's a lot of Exo Soldier mutants, Exo Soldier, whatever. The ones that come in with tough. So it's very nice to ping those off and then deal 8 damage to either the villain or an enemy that had a lot of attachments where his health was really high. Super good card, which I enjoy playing almost every time I get it. Moving on to Hive Mind. Hive Mind is actually, where's Hive Mind? Right there? Yeah. It's actually a 2. It would be a 1, but there's one caveat. 2 cost event. Thwart Tiny. Play only in the tiny hero form. Hero action thwart. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. Remove 1 additional threat from that scheme for each army of ant support you control. So this is Ant-Man's thwart card, and there's only one of them in his deck. You get to remove 2 threat, 2 for 2. Okay. But if you have army of ant support you control, that adds 1 more. So if you have all 3, this gets to be a 2 for 5. But the caveat is if you have the army of ants out. If you do not, then you're kind of out of luck. So it's kind of like, do you really want to pay 2 just to remove 2? I mean, you will if you have to, but that's why that's a 2. Resize, this one? Yeah. Resize, I put as another 4. There's 2 of these in the deck. 0 cost event, resize, superpower, hero action, change to your other hero form, draw 1 card, strength resource. Very good, especially, really doesn't matter what size you're in. Because you get to draw a card off the bat for 0 cost. You're basically replacing this card that you just played. And it's always, because even though you're playing this, you still get your own once per turn flip. So you can, your giant form, resize down to little form, and then flip back up to giant form for those buffs. And then attack with a high attack. So that's why that is a 4. Pin Particles. Pin Particles is a 4 as well. These do not go in any specific order. Hero response. After you spend this card, heal 2 damage from your hero if you are in giant hero form, or draw 1 card if you are in tiny hero form. Wild resource. So this is a 4. This is basically Abt-Man's hero resource, which is usually a 2 or a 3 in my ranking. But the response for getting something for either, being in either form, is amazing, especially healing 2 damage. So whenever I try to play this, I always try and stay in hero giant form. That way I don't have to flip over to alter ego, because I constantly get to heal from this card when playing for something. That's why that's a 4. Army of Ants. Army of Ants I put as a 3. 1 cost support, Army of Ants. Ants tiny, hero action. If you are in tiny hero form, exhaust Army of Ants, deal 1 damage to an enemy, strength resources. So this, if you have all 3 of these cards out, then the tiny form becomes a lot stronger, almost stronger than the giant form. Because with this, you can deal 4 damage in tiny form, along with having a 2 thwart and a 2 defense. And also this card bounces off the Hive Mind card as well. So that's kind of why it's a 3, because it is a decent card to have out there. It's 1 cost just to put it out there, and it also helps ping off toughs as well if they're out there. Moving on to Ant-Man's helmet, which I super like. So this is going to be another 4. So 3 cost upgrade. Armor Tech. Hero response. After you change to giant hero form, heal 2 damage from your hero. Hero response. After you change to tiny hero form, draw 1 card, mental resource. So this really works off the resize card, because you're constantly flipping back. So you can basically do both these responses in 1 turn. And like I said, healing 2 damage from your hero when you're in giant form. Amazing. If you pair this up with Pin Particles, you're healing 4 damage without going to your alter ego, which is fantastic. And also drawing 1 card as well, especially if you're in hero form, you start with 4 cards. So if you flip tiny, you get that 5th card, which is also super nice. That's why it's 4. Moving on to Giant Strength. Giant Strength, I put as a 4 as well. Now if you have these out as well, this makes the giant form a lot better than tiny form, even if you have Army of Ants. Because when you change to form, there's 2 of these, you get +2 attack until the end of the turn, so your 3 attack goes to 5 attack. So basically, if you have all 3 Army of Ants in your tiny form, you use those 3 to deal 3 damage to an enemy, flip over to this, flip over to hero, or sorry, to giant, you have 5 more attack. That's 8 damage right there. That's a pretty good turn, especially if you're trying to push near the end, and you have like a giant stomp. So that's another 8, 9 damage. No, that's the minions. 8 damage. So that could be 16 damage in 1 turn. That is a really good turn. I like giant strength. I like to have it on the board. Wrist gauntlets. Wrist gauntlets is actually a 1. Where is it? Right here. Hero action. If you are in giant hero form, exhaust this and spend 2 strength resources. Stun an enemy. If you are in tiny hero form, exhaust wrist gauntlets. Spend 2 energy resources. Confuse an enemy. Mental resource. I always wondered why it's an energy resources to confuse. Yeah, because I can't tiny. Maybe because his lasers are energy. Maybe. But anywho, 1 cost card. It's good to thin your deck, I guess, but I don't like having to spend 2 of the same resources to get these effects. I mean, I've used it twice, I think, to stun and confuse in one game, but that's the only other time I used it. That's why it's a 1. That's why it's pretty low. I mean, it is what it is. If it's out there and if I get the chance to use it, I'll use it. But otherwise, I'll either use it to spend for something else or to thin my deck. Alright, those are all the cards in his deck. So, all this combined, his total score is 8.5 out of 10. I had a lot of fun with him. He was a really blast. I think aggression is probably his best aspect, or at least the deck that I had was really good for him. Let me know in the comments what you think he should be out of 10 and what cards should be lower and what cards should be higher. And if I played a card totally wrong, please let me know as well. Other than that, we will see you next time. Please like and subscribe, and deuces.